Hi, I'm Captain Larry Bell with Texas Fishing Tips, and this is your weekly fishing report.
Ayers Dugout, Ayers Reef, all this shoreline. Right here, fish camp, little houses there with the cut through. Got this big, nice reef that runs all the way down over here to Ayers Island, Roddy Island, Rattlesnake, all this point that's down in here. There's been some scattered fish that's been hanging in this, trout, a few redfish, some black drum, an occasional flounder every so often. But as you get up here to Ayers Island and you want to get off of the shell and you start working down that shoreline, that's where we've picked up a few pretty decent redfish that are back in this area here. Trout scattered again, kind of all over the place size-wise, anywhere from that 14, 15 up to 19 to 20s, but they're few and far between that are in there. But there are fish that are hanging in this area. Just another area for you to try to locate some fish if you're fishing up in this area. So one of the main things that we've been throwing, again, it's been about 5 baits that's been pretty much been very productive for over the last 2 to 3 weeks. One in particular that's been over the last 2 to 3 months. That's been the Down South Lure Twisted Tea in both the original and the burner shad size. Those particular baits have they've been lights out now for going on 3 months with not a problem. It's been very productive. So if you don't have those in your box, make sure that you pick you up some here or there to throw, because they're very versatile in lots of different water clarity. And then up here in the Ayers Bay, you can get that. You get clear, you can get dirty, you can get stained. So it's a super versatile bait. The other ones have been the knock and tail lures in both the greenback and the heavy metal. That's been a super bait as well. Very productive bait over the last 3, maybe 4 weeks since we've kind of been throwing that alongside with the Down South. The other bait that's been good has been the Double D. Over the past week, it's been pretty good, pretty consistent with it. When it maybe kind of tapered just a hair here or there, tie one of those on and start working a little bit deeper water. Need a waist deep water. That bait is extremely effective, especially over grass beds, around shell beds. It's been very good. And then, of course, the topwater bait. Topwater bait's good in just about any type of water that you want to throw. So we've had lots of water that's come in over the past 4 or 5 days. So we've had higher tides than normal. What that has allowed for is back bays, areas that's been typically, calf deep water, a lot of grass in there that's been tough to work topwater baits or any type of bait. So with this extra water in here, those back lakes are really starting to light up. It's been a lot of fun to throw topwaters back in these. There's a lot of fish that are showing up there. Tremendous amount of bait that's back, and there's a lot of competition. So you got to do a really good job of making sure that your bait stands out in and amongst all the live bait that's cruising around in and up those back lakes and those areas, depending on where you're at and which back lake that you're trying to fish or want to fish. If you continue to come down here this way toward Rattlesnake, you got the little cut throughs there. Those edges have been good, throwing the plastics. Again, 16th ounce jig heads have been the main thing and the only thing that I've been throwing, and that will be a continuing trend for me. So again, if you don't know, those 16 ounce jig heads, perfect weight, especially if you're throwing a 4.5 inch bait, 3.5 inch bait, the burner shad. It allows the bait to glide through the water column. So you really give those fish an opportunity to locate and find your bait when you're working all that. So it doesn't just dive in there like if you throw an 1/8 ounce or 3/16 ounce jig head on there, that thing's going to drop down in that into the shell or to the grass a little quicker than probably it needs to. So that's why the 16th ounce has been very productive for us and on lots of these trips. So just keep that in mind as you work those. Again, up and down the Rattlesnake Island, a lot of bait, a lot of grass. You're locating fish here. There have been some, we've caught a few oversized reds that's been cruising up and down that shoreline as well. And again, as we're getting closer to October and redfish will start to make the runs, you'll start to locate some little areas that's got little patches or little pods, if you will, of redfish that are cruising up and down these shorelines, and it can make for some really good times and a lot of fun if you locate or come across one of those pods of redfish. So keep those in mind. Again, the majors and minors are always a big deal, that you incorporate those into your fishing day to locate and find and have a productive day. Newcomb Bend, Newcomb Point, this whole shoreline right there off the Lamar Peninsula. As you work all this area here, man, you've got some great structure that's on the shoreline here. So we've had some super super low winds, early morning, so it's made for some great trout bite that's been out here on the front of this thing. Tremendous amount of bait again. Bait's not been an issue anywhere that we're fishing in any of these estuaries. So bait's always been prevalent and been close to everything. So again, it's something that you will have to contend with the amount of bait that's in there to make your bait really stand out amongst it. So working these guts, you know, if you start there, I think it's Pop's Landing or Pop's RV spot that's right there. They got that pier from basically from that location all the way to the point out here toward Lap Reef. You know, work all this area really good. Work up shoreline again with the amount of water that we've had in here, so the shoreline's starting to really light up there. So we've caught some nice redfish, you know, slot reds, undersized slot reds, trout up in that area as well. Occasional black drum, occasional flounder that are working these areas out here. You know, the gutters that are in that thing, so it's like guts. So you've got, you know, hill and dale, so to speak. So you're up shallow, then you drop off into a gut and do it again. So work all those things really well with your plastics or a suspended bait if you so choose. Plastics have been the most productive for us. Again, the down south Twisted Tea has been money for the last 3 months. The new Knock and Tail that's been on the market for a little bit, but been throwing those for the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's been really good in both those the two flavors would have been mentioned earlier, in the heavy metal and the greenback has been really good. Water clarity out here has been stained, so it's been really good for those particular colors. The Twisted Tea flavor, and then of course the two that by the Knock and Tail have been really good as well. You know, get on this point, work all the way up to the point, work all this area out here. You know, if you get up there again with the amount of water that's pushed in here, if you like to throw top waters, you know, tie on your Spook Junior or a She-Dog or whatever you like, and get up here and work this shoreline, man. Get up there in that knee-deep water, work all that. You'd be surprised the amount of quality fish that you will catch in that knee-deep or less water, and the type of action that you will get with that topwater bait has been very good. A lot of fun, a lot of explosions, swirls, slaps, pops, whatever you like, man. It's been very good in that particular stuff with the topwater baits. Now, if we come back down and around, we've got down here in the bend, we've gotten all the way back down here. So when the kind of the some of the southeast breezes have kind of kicked just a little bit in the afternoons or evenings, it's been a good area to get into. And of course, with the amount of rain that we've kind of had wind from all over the place. We've had it from the north, northwest. So it's still another area that you can get into and still have protection, but you can still fish it from just about anything unless it's just a real hard down northwest wind that goes blow right into it, which we have not had. But those days are coming, so they're not too terribly far away as we slide, getting closer into October, November time frame. But as September continues to move on, work all these areas here. You've got great mud in here. You've got great grass. You've got tremendous shorelines with all kinds of structure on it. As you get further down toward Holiday Beach, you've got little back lake mouths that go up in there that's going to have an opportunity to hold some fish, throwing those particular baits. Again, you know, that topwater bait's good. The Double D has been really good. The plastics, again, 16th ounce jig heads, all you need. You don't need anything else other than that. So it's making these areas in here light up. Shell as you get down here toward the Holiday Beach area. So all that really has done well, especially around the bite frames. That's one of the key things that we've really kind of paid attention to, is we're always targeting those to fish an area with a major or minor in mind, or a window, so we can fish a particular area. But most of your bites, or at least for us anyway, most of our bite frames have been productive. Now, as we've tapered up to and tapered away from those bite frames, that bite has tapered off, so you have to work a little bit more diligently to try to get those fish to eat for you, but it's been difficult. But if you get in there in the right window with the major minor, you'll locate you some fish, and you'll catch some fish, because they've been wanting to play during those time frames in and around that. So just make sure you're paying attention to it. There'll be indicators for you that you start paying attention to that'll show up. But again, majors, minors, throw all those different baits. Basically, those 5 baits has been money for us in just about any of these estuaries. So take your time working these areas. There's been quality fish that are hanging in here, or if you're just looking for something to put in the box, you'll find some fish that are laying up in these areas. All right, down here, just off of Jaybird Point, as you head toward Spalding, this big back lake right here is one of my absolute favorite back lakes to fish. And again, with the amount of extra water that has pushed into here, these back lakes like this real big back lake. Man, there's lots of opportunity in just one single back lake. So you don't have to just go fish the middle of it and, oh, we didn't catch anything, and move on. Fish the edges. Fish the edges of these things, because they're all thigh to waist deep water, which is outstanding for these back lakes. And it doesn't matter if it's on the northern shoreline or the southern shoreline or in the middle of it. Man, it's just so much opportunity that goes in there, because there's tremendous. The grass is so good in this area here, and you've got some little bit of, potholes that are scattered all throughout, and you got some scattered structure in and out of these things. So you can get 3, 4, 5 guys, if you will, spread out across the thing. Topwater action in these back lakes has been spectacular. It's been very good. Again, 16th ounce jig head throwing your plastics, it's been spectacular. It's been very good with those particular flavors. Now, back in here, you got a little bit more shallow water. That grass is going to filter that water, so that grass or the water has been pretty clear for the most part in these back lakes. So we're throwing more translucent baits. Little John, like golden red glitter, the kitchen sink in the translucent flavor there. The knock and tail heavy metal is a great bait to throw back in this area here. The down south dirty tequila, another terrific bait to throw in here. But again, the twisted tea burner shad's been good back in here as well. All these baits have been good, and of course your double D's, your double D and your more translucent bait, this little bit clearer body on those have been really good as well. So get back in here, work these back lake areas, man, because they give you such great opportunity. Again, bait is not an issue. There's lots of bait that's working all over this. Just get on one of these edges, get on one of these shorelines. Terrific bottom back in there, so it's not too squishy. Lots of areas for you to locate and try to find you some fishing. There's trout back in these things. There are redfish that are back in these things. Redfish is what we've primarily been targeting as we get back here, but you'll find some decent trout that are back scattered in these things. An occasional black drum. Again, that's not what we're trying to target in these back areas. At least I'm not. But you will come across them. You will have opportunities. So explore. If you haven't fished back in this area here, which some people call it Sherman's Back Lake, some people call it Vincent Slough Back Lake, but it's right there, right down between Jaybird Point and Spalding Bight area. And if you've been up and down that shoreline, you've seen it. You've been in, I'm sure, before, or fished the outside edge of it. You got 2 entrances to it. You got a little windy entrance in one end. Just got a pretty straight entrance in the other end. And that little windy area down there is hard enough that you can wade the edge of that thing. We've pulled some flounder out of the middle of that gut, so just keep that in mind as well. But again, 16th ounce jig heads have been perfect for back in here. You've got plenty of area that you can fish. It's again, when that water level opens up and pushes back in there, it really lights the back lakes up and expands lots of fishing area that you can get into. And you can spend 2 or 3, 4 days in there and not fish at all. So that's the great thing about these back lakes, and it's protected. You got higher winds that come up, and you stay protected back in there. So keep all that kind of stuff in mind. Again, majors and minors have been the key for us throwing artificials. And as we continue to move toward our fall pattern, October's coming, November's coming. All these areas in here are great for artificial. The artificial game's not going to do anything but get better and better and better as we move toward our winter time. So just keep all that in mind. If you're not as good with your artificial baits, then this is a great opportunity for you to try to learn that and get a little bit more experience with it. So anyway, again, I say it enough. Again, majors and minors, I can't stress it enough. The particular baits that we've been throwing have been money back in here. If you've got something that you like that you want to throw it. That's all I can tell you to do. But again, topwater bait, action, redfish back in these has been very good.
For watching, I'm Captain Larry Bell.